Nobody actually saw this coming. Matt Armstrong has just pulled off one of the biggest automotive flexes of the year, and honestly, it happened almost overnight. After everything he went through rebuilding his Bugatti Veyron, the diagnostics, the setbacks, the sheer stubbornness it took to keep going, he was suddenly spotted driving it across Switzerland, France, and Monaco. Not on a trailer. Not tucked away for a private viewing. On the road, in public, for anyone to see. But one moment stood above the rest. Late at night in Monaco, with cameras everywhere and the kind of energy only that city can produce, people stopped walking mid-conversation, pulled out their phones, and surrounded Matt Armstrong and his Veyron as he arrived with Hannah Smith beside him. The man who fixed what many people believed couldn't be fixed had officially stolen the show. And after everything this car has been through, it's hard to argue it could have happened to a more deserving person. Think about that for a second. This is the same Bugatti Veyron that arrived as a broken repossession, sitting there with a gearbox that refused to move. This is the same car that plenty of people, including some who know these vehicles inside and out, assumed would never drive properly again. This is the same car that turned into one of the biggest independent repair stories the automotive world has ever seen. And now here it is, being driven across some of the most iconic roads in Europe. Not hiding it. Not babying it in a garage somewhere. Actually driving it, exactly the way it was built to be driven. That contrast is what makes this story so satisfying. It's not just a nice car in a nice location. It's a car that had every reason to end up parked permanently, now living the life it was designed for. Before we get into the sightings, it's worth remembering exactly what Matt had to go through just to reach this point, because it puts the whole European trip into perspective. He bought a repossessed Veyron that wouldn't move. The gearbox was completely stuck, and the car wouldn't even shift out of park. Most people in that situation would have assumed the worst. A full gearbox replacement, a bill running into the tens of thousands. Instead, Matt diagnosed the problem himself. He went through the wiring inch by inch and eventually found a melted 40-amp fuse, one that had clearly been replaced before, not with the correct fuse, but with progressively larger ones, as if someone was trying to brute force their way past the problem instead of actually solving it. Matt swapped it out for a simple $3 fuse, and the gearbox came back to life. That single moment shocked a lot of people who follow this kind of content, because it turned an assumed catastrophic failure into something almost embarrassingly simple. From there came the full service. 16 spark plugs, coil packs, every filter the car needed, gearbox oil, engine oil, and a range of sensors, with almost every item cross-referenced against Volkswagen Group parts to track down affordable equivalents instead of paying Bugatti's premium. And that premium was steep. Bugatti quoted around £20,000 just to carry out that service. Bugatti wants $20,000 to service my Bugatti Veyron. Matt got the entire job done for a fraction of that number, coming in at roughly £1,193. From there, the car started to take on its own identity. He wrapped the Veyron in a satin silver finish, fitted a set of custom Vossen wheels, restored the front splitter to get that aggressive stance back, and even built his own speed key rather than pay Bugatti's $10,000 price for the official part. Piece by piece, the car was being pulled back from the brink and turned into something that looked every bit as special as it originally did rolling off the line. Everything seemed to be lining up for a top speed run. And then, right on cue, disaster struck again. The fuel pump control module failed, and the planned trip to Europe had to be pushed back. It would have been easy to see this as the moment the project finally ran out of momentum. Instead, Matt did what he'd done every time before. He diagnosed the issue himself, worked out exactly what had gone wrong, and eventually sourced a replacement module through official channels for around £4,500, with the installation itself requiring a dealer. It wasn't cheap and it wasn't fast, but it got done. And finally, after all of that, the Veyron was ready. Europe was waiting. The first sighting happened in Switzerland. Matt Armstrong and his crew showed up surrounded by other incredible supercars and hypercars, the kind of lineup that usually draws a crowd on its own. And the Veyron looked completely at home in that company. People noticed almost immediately. Phones came out, photos were taken, and there was a genuine buzz in the air. Not just because it was a Bugatti, which would turn heads anywhere, but because so many people in that crowd already knew the story behind this specific car. This wasn't just another Veyron rolling through a Swiss mountain pass. This was Matt's Veyron. The one repaired independently, without Bugatti's involvement or blessing. The one that quietly proved that knowledge, patience, and a willingness to actually investigate a problem can beat expensive manufacturer assumptions. Then came France, the home of Bugatti itself. Matt's Veyron rolled through French roads without any fanfare, without a big announcement, just quietly making a statement. There's something almost poetic about that. The same car so many people had written off, sitting on the roads of the very country where it was born, moving under its own power exactly as it was always meant to. But Monaco was different. That was the moment that truly stole the show. Late at night, Matt arrived in his satin silver Veyron with Hannah Smith beside him, and within seconds, people were stopping in their tracks. Phones came out from every direction. Cameras surrounded the car almost instantly. Everyone wanted a picture. Everyone wanted a closer look at this particular Veyron, in a city where Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, and even other Bugattis are practically part of the scenery. And despite all of that competition, Matt Armstrong still managed to become one of the biggest attractions of the night. That detail says everything, because the crowd wasn't just reacting to an expensive car. Monaco sees expensive cars constantly. That alone doesn't stop traffic. What stopped people was the story behind it. A broken repossession that had turned into one of the most recognizable Bugatti Veyrons on YouTube. That's the part that makes this whole journey so satisfying to watch unfold. It was never really about driving through Europe. It was about proving what determination can actually achieve when someone refuses to accept the easy answer. Every diagnostic session, every setback, every late night spent under the car in the workshop, led directly to this moment. That same Veyron cruising through Switzerland, through France, and finally into Monaco. Millions of people have followed this journey from the very beginning. Watching the gearbox come back to life because of a $3 fuse instead of a 5-figure replacement. Watching a service that Bugatti wanted £20,000 for get completed for a small fraction of that price. Watching one problem after another get identified, understood, and solved, instead of simply thrown at the most expensive possible fix. And now, watching the finished car actually being driven, actually being enjoyed, feels like the reward all of that work was building toward. Honestly, this project has inspired a lot of people, myself included. Not just because Matt fixed a Bugatti, which on its own is impressive enough, but because of the mindset behind it. The refusal to accept that something is impossible simply because someone else, even an official dealer, said it couldn't be done. That mindset reaches far beyond cars. Whether you're a mechanic working on something everyone else has given up on, a content creator trying to build something from nothing, or just someone chasing a goal that feels out of reach, there's something worth taking from this story. Keep going even when things go wrong. Especially when things go wrong. Because eventually, if you stay with it long enough, you might find yourself doing exactly what everyone assumed was impossible. In this case, driving across Europe in the very car so many people had already written off. From Switzerland to France to Monaco, Matt Armstrong turned one broken-down Bugatti Veyron into one of the most recognized cars in the automotive world right now. And judging by the reaction everywhere he went, people loved every second of it. But the story isn't finished. The Veyron journey continues, and the Chiron wide-body build is already underway in the background. If you've enjoyed following this adventure from the beginning, make sure you're subscribed, because the next chapter could end up being even bigger than this one.